My name's Bruce, I'm 29, been married to Laura for 8 years. We met in college, got married young, thought we had it all figured out. Boy, was I wrong. It started with a business trip to Denver. I work in software sales, and this was supposed to be a 3-day conference. Nothing unusual, I'd done these trips dozens of times before. Laura seemed normal when I left, gave me the usual kiss goodbye, told me to drive safe. She was working part-time at a local marketing firm, had her own thing going on. We'd been having some rough patches lately, but what married couple doesn't, right? The conference was boring as hell. Same presentations about quarterly projections and market penetration strategies. I kept thinking about Laura, actually felt bad about some of the arguments we'd been having. Money stuff, mostly. I'd been pushing for us to start trying for kids, but she kept saying we needed to wait until we were more financially stable. Looking back now, I wonder if that was just an excuse. On the second day, I got a call from my buddy Ryan, who lived about 2 hours from Denver. He'd just gotten engaged to his girlfriend Megan and wanted to celebrate. I figured, why not? Conference was wrapping up early anyway, and I could use good time. We hit up some local brewery, talked about old times, his upcoming wedding. Made me think about my own marriage, how Laura and I used to be. That's when Ryan mentioned something that stuck with me. He said Megan had been acting weird lately, staying out late, being secretive with her phone. Turned out she was planning his surprise engagement party. Trust is everything in a relationship, he said. But sometimes the signs you think you see aren't what they seem. I laughed it off at the time, but those words would come back to haunt me. I decided to surprise Laura by coming home a day early. Drove straight through the night, got back around 6 a.m. Our house was quiet, she was probably still asleep. I parked in the driveway behind her car and grabbed my bags. That's when I saw it. A silk tie draped over the passenger seat of her Honda Civic. Navy blue with small gold dots. Definitely not mine. My heart started pounding like crazy. I stood there staring at that tie for what felt like hours but was probably only a few minutes. Part of me wanted to pretend I hadn't seen it, walk into the house, and continue living in blissful ignorance. But I couldn't. I had to know. I took a picture of the tie with my phone, then quietly opened the car door and grabbed it. The fabric felt expensive, silk probably. There was a small label inside, Brooks Brothers. I'd never owned anything from Brooks Brothers in my life. Too rich for my blood. But I knew someone who did shop there regularly, Laura's boss, Marcus. He was always bragging about his expensive suits and ties during company parties. I went inside and found Laura in the kitchen, making coffee. She was wearing one of my old college t-shirts and looked beautiful, like she always did in the morning. For a second, I almost forgot about the tie. Almost. "Hey babe, you're back early," she said, giving me a quick kiss. "How was the conference?" "It was fine," I said, holding up the tie. "Found this in your car. Want to explain?" The color drained from her face. She started fumbling with words, stuttering. Where did you find that?" "In your car, Laura. Front passenger seat." "Whose is it?" She took a deep breath and I could see her mind racing, trying to come up with some explanation. "It must be Marcus's. He rode with me to that client meeting last week when his car was in the shop. He probably forgot it." "Marcus rides in the passenger seat of your car? For a client meeting?" "Yes, Bruce. It's not a big deal. We're colleagues." But something in her voice told me it was a very big deal. The way she wouldn't meet my eyes, the way her hands were shaking slightly as she poured her coffee. I'd been married to this woman for 8 years, I knew when she was lying. "So if I call Marcus right now and ask him about his tie, he'll remember leaving it in your car?" "Don't you dare call Marcus. You're being paranoid and jealous for no reason." That's when I knew. The defensiveness, the anger, the way she was turning this around on me. Classic deflection. My stomach felt like it was full of rocks. I didn't call Marcus that day. Instead, I decided to do some investigating on my own. I'm not proud of it, but I started paying attention to Laura's patterns. When she said she was working late, I'd drive by her office. When she said she was going out with girlfriends, I'd check her location on Find My Friends. We'd set it up years ago for safety, ironically. The first few times, everything checked out. She was where she said she'd be. I started thinking maybe I was being paranoid, like she said. Maybe the tie really was innocent. But then I noticed other things. New underwear that I'd never seen before. Expensive stuff, not her usual Target brands. She'd started wearing perfume more often, even just to go to the grocery store. And her phone, she'd become super protective of it, taking it with her everywhere, even to the bathroom. 3 weeks after the tie incident, I got my proof. Laura said she was having dinner with her college friend Lauren, who was visiting from out of town. I called Lauren's number, still had it from our wedding planning days. Lauren answered, confused. Bruce? Hey, how are you? I'm actually in Portland visiting my mom this week. Haven't seen Laura in months. My blood went cold. Oh, sorry. I must have misunderstood. Laura mentioned grabbing dinner with someone named Lauren, thought it was you. Nope, not me. Tell Laura I said hi though. I hung up and just sat in my car outside our house for an hour. This was really happening. My wife was cheating on me, and she was lying about it. All those late nights, all those excuses, how long had this been going on? I thought about confronting her right then, but something stopped me. Maybe it was pride, maybe it was the need to know exactly what I was dealing with before I blew up my marriage. I decided to wait and gather more evidence. If I was going to end this, I wanted to be absolutely sure. That weekend, Laura said she needed to run errands. I followed her at a distance, feeling like some kind of private investigator. She drove to a hotel downtown, the Marriott. I watched her walk in, and about 10 minutes later, Marcus walked in too. They didn't come out for 3 hours. I sat in that parking lot, crying like a baby. 8 years of marriage, and this is what it had come to. My wife meeting another man at a hotel while I sat outside like a stalker. After seeing Laura and Marcus at the hotel, I knew I had to make a decision. I could confront them both, file for divorce, and try to move on with my life. Or I could get creative. I'm not typically a vengeful person, but something about the way Laura had been lying to my face for months made me want to teach her a lesson. I started researching Marcus. Turns out he was married too, to a woman named Diana. They had 2 teenage kids and lived in one of those fancy subdivisions across town. Diana was active on social media, always posting about their perfect family life, their vacations, their anniversary dinners. She had no idea her husband was having an affair with his employee. I also did some digging into Marcus's professional life. He was a partner at the marketing firm where Laura worked, which meant their relationship was not just adultery but also a violation of company policy. The firm had a strict no fraternization policy between management and subordinates. I found the employee handbook online, it was right there in black and white. But I wanted to be smart about this. I couldn't just blow everything up without protecting myself first. I hired a lawyer, quietly, and started documenting everything. Photos of them at the hotel, screenshots of Laura's lies about her whereabouts, financial records showing unusual spending patterns. My lawyer advised me to be careful about how I obtained evidence, but he said what I had was solid. The plan started coming together in my head. I wanted Laura to experience the same betrayal and humiliation she'd put me through. I wanted Marcus to face real consequences for his actions. And I wanted to do it in a way that would make the biggest impact. I remembered that Laura's birthday was coming up in a month. We'd already made plans to have a big party at our house, friends, family, co-workers. Including Marcus and Diana. Laura had been excited about it for weeks, talking about the menu and decorations. She had no idea it was going to be the most memorable birthday of her life, just not in the way she expected. The beauty of the plan was its simplicity. I wouldn't have to confront anyone directly or make a scene. I'd let the truth speak for itself, and let everyone else draw their own conclusions. Laura wanted to keep living a double life. Fine. But I was going to make sure both of her lives collided in the most spectacular way possible. Planning Laura's birthday party while knowing what I knew was surreal. She'd talk about the guest list and the decorations, completely oblivious to what was coming. I played along, even suggested we invite more people from her work. "Let's make it a real celebration," I said. She was thrilled. 2 weeks before the party, I made my move. I'd been collecting evidence for over a month, photos, timestamps, credit card statements showing hotel charges on days when Laura claimed to be working late. I had everything organized in a folder on my laptop, password protected. I created a simple slideshow presentation. Nothing fancy, just the facts laid out chronologically. Photos of Laura and Marcus entering the hotel, receipts from romantic dinners charged to Marcus's company card, screenshots of text messages I'd managed to glimpse when Laura left her phone unattended. The last slide was simple: "Happy birthday, Laura. I hope your new life with Marcus brings you happiness." I also prepared individual envelopes for key people at the party. One for Diana with copies of everything proving her husband's affair. One for the HR director at Laura's company with documentation of the policy violations. One for Laura's parents with a letter explaining why their daughter's marriage was ending. I wasn't going to say anything at the party itself, I'd let the evidence do the talking. The week of the party, Laura was in full preparation mode. She took time off work to clean the house and get everything ready. She kept asking if I was excited about the party, and I'd tell her I couldn't wait. It was technically true. I also made some practical preparations. I'd already moved most of my important documents and sentimental items to a storage unit. My lawyer had drafted divorce papers, ready to be filed. I'd opened my own bank account and transferred half our savings, completely legal according to my lawyer, since it was marital property. The night before the party, Laura was nervous and excited. She kept checking her appearance in the mirror, asking if her dress looked okay. "You look beautiful," I told her. "Tomorrow's going to be a day you'll never forget." She smiled and hugged me, completely missing the double meaning. I barely slept that night. Part of me felt guilty about what I was planning, but then I'd remember all the lies, all the nights she came home late with some excuse about work. She'd made her choice months ago. I was just making sure there were consequences. The party started at 3 p.m. on a Saturday. Laura had invited about 30 people, family, friends, co-workers. She looked gorgeous in her new dress, playing the perfect hostess. Marcus and Diana arrived fashionably late, bringing an expensive bottle of wine. Diana complimented Laura on the decorations while Marcus shook my hand and asked how I was doing. The audacity was breathtaking. For the first hour, everything was normal. People were eating, drinking, catching up. Laura was in her element, laughing and chatting with everyone. I made small talk and played my part, but inside I was counting down the minutes. At 4:30, I excused myself and went to set up my laptop in the living room. I connected it to our big screen TV and loaded up the slideshow. Then I went back to the kitchen where everyone was gathered. "Hey everyone," I said, raising my beer bottle. I wanted to give Laura a special birthday surprise. I put together a little presentation about our marriage and her career growth. "Laura, this is for you." Laura beamed, thinking it was going to be some romantic montage of our relationship. Everyone gathered in the living room, drinks in hand, ready to watch what they thought would be a sweet husband's tribute to his wife. I clicked the first slide. It was a photo of Laura and Marcus entering the Marriott Hotel, time-stamped from 3 weeks ago. The room went dead silent. Laura's face went white as a sheet. "Bruce, what is this?" she whispered. "Just keep watching, honey." It gets better. The next slide showed them leaving the hotel 3 hours later. Then receipts from romantic dinners. Then more hotel photos from different dates. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Diana started crying. Laura's mom gasped and put her hand over her mouth. Marcus tried to say something, but I cut him off. Don't worry, Marcus. I've got something special for you too. I handed Diana the envelope with all the documentation. She opened it with shaking hands, reading through the evidence that her husband had been cheating on her for months. The room erupted. Diana started screaming at Marcus. Laura's dad started yelling at Laura. Friends and co-workers were awkwardly trying to figure out if they should leave. It was chaos, exactly what I'd hoped for. The party ended abruptly, obviously. Most people left within minutes of my little slideshow. Laura locked herself in our bedroom, crying. Marcus and Diana had a screaming match in our driveway before she drove off, leaving him stranded. Laura's parents stayed to try to talk some sense into their daughter, but she wouldn't come out of the room. I spent the evening cleaning up the party mess while fielding phone calls. Laura's sister called to yell at me for humiliating Laura publicly. My mom called to ask what the hell had happened. She'd heard from my aunt who was at the party. Even Ryan called from Denver after seeing some of the drama on social media. The next morning, Laura finally came out of the bedroom. Her eyes were red from crying, and she looked defeated. She sat across from me at the kitchen table, the same table where I'd confronted her about the tie months earlier. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I never meant for it to happen. It just did. How long? I asked. 6 months. Maybe 7. I don't know exactly when it started. Do you love him? She was quiet for a long time. I think so. I'm confused about everything right now. Well, you're about to have plenty of time to figure it out. I handed her the divorce papers. She wasn't surprised. We talked for about an hour, the most honest conversation we'd had in years. She admitted she'd been unhappy for a while but didn't know how to tell me. I told her I wished she'd been brave enough to end our marriage before starting something with someone else. The fallout was swift and brutal. By Monday morning, the HR director at Laura's company had received my envelope with documentation of the policy violations. Both Laura and Marcus were suspended pending investigation. Within a week, Marcus was fired. Laura was given the option to resign or be terminated. She chose to resign. Diana filed for divorce immediately. Turns out she'd been suspicious for months but didn't have proof. My little presentation gave her everything she needed. She got the house, the kids, and a hefty alimony payment. Marcus went from living in a mansion to renting a one-bedroom apartment across town. Laura moved in with her sister temporarily. We're proceeding with the divorce. It should be final in a few months. We've managed to keep things relatively civil, which I'm proud of. Despite everything, I don't hate her. I'm hurt and angry, but I also understand that people fall out of love sometimes. Looking back, I don't regret exposing the affair, but I do regret how I did it. Humiliating Laura in front of our friends and family felt satisfying in the moment, but it didn't really help anyone heal. If I could do it over, I'd probably handle it more privately. The crazy thing is, that tie that started everything. Laura finally admitted it wasn't from a client meeting. Marcus had left it in her car after one of their hotel visits, and she forgot to give it back to him. Such a small, stupid mistake that unraveled months of lies. These days, I'm focusing on rebuilding my life. I've got a good therapist, I'm back in touch with old friends, and I'm slowly learning to trust again. It's been 6 months since the party, and I'm doing okay. Some days are harder than others, but I'm moving forward. The house feels empty without Laura, but it's also peaceful. No more wondering where she really is when she says she's working late. No more pretending everything is fine when it's not. For the first time in years, I can just be myself. Would I do it all again the same way? Probably not. But I'm not sorry I found out the truth. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be exactly what you needed.